and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Welcome to yet another edition of our programs here, the Hour of Politics, with me, Ansony Sieh, always your host. Today, this program is a special one. And you know, when I say it's special, it is special because we have a gentleman comfortably seated. He is a supporter of JMB, that is Vice President Joseph Boakai. And why is this gentleman here, by the way? He is here to make the case for JMB candidacy and possible presidency. You see him here, just took a sip of his coffee to get energized to make the case for Joseph Boakai. And yes, there's another good news. George Preston Lobo is on his way, and he will join us in this broadcast. So if you are wasting time to share, please don't waste time. Do it. The guys are smart. They think Joseph Boakai is the guy. Is he actually the future? Let me welcome Chuchu Alice Jones. Mr. Jones, welcome to the Hour of Politics.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm excited to be here, Ansony. And thanks to all the viewers. It's been a while. And look forward to a very spirited and fruitful discussion.
Thank you, Alex. You know, you are more like family here. I focus on Liberia. But that does not mean we're not going to throw the hard questions at you. And you know how we do it here. And so we are happy to have you, as you are set to make the case for Joseph Boakai's candidacy and possible presidency for the Republic of Liberia. Well, let's get to it. Before I roll in my first question, what is your opening statement? Why are you here? And what do you intend to accomplish here in this particular exclusive?
Well, I would like to first of all introduce myself, and then I prepare a very short 1-minute statement that I just wrote. So I will start by reading the statement. First of all, I'm Chuchu Alex Jones, a Liberian. And I will go directly into the statement.
Do so.
Thank you. A year ago, Liberians watched with horror as the government of Liberia deployed the armed forces of Liberia into the streets under the Boakai state of emergency. That marked the beginning of President George Weah's dictatorial reign. The rights of Liberians were violated. Peaceful citizens were harassed and in some cases beaten. Some never returned to their families. Funds from the international community were squandered and stolen by the government with the help of our ineffective and inconsequential legislator. Liberians had no one to speak truth to power. Hence, the movement to make Liberia better, MLB, came into existence due to social, political, and economic necessities to help advocate for Liberians and the people. MLB, what is MLB? MLB is a Liberian international think tank and pressure group. We started in March 2020. In short, we observe and analyze social, political, and economic events and development in Liberia. And we speak without passion or prejudice. Fellow Liberians, we have unflinchingly been doing so since 2020. And we promise to continue our work to help direct the social, political, and economic progress of Liberia. So I'm here today, Mr. Sieh, as a founder and chairman emeritus of MLB. I'm also here as a Liberian, where I can speak my mind as to the future of Liberia, to be a part of the solution. I will now take your questions and hope for the questions from your audience.
Thank you so very much for that brief statement and also introducing yourself. Folks, you heard Mr. Chuchu Alice Jones. He is the co-founder and chairman emeritus of the movement to make Liberia better. You heard him. It is an international think tank dedicated to fighting for a better Liberia. but he has made a decision to support Joseph Boakai for the upcoming 2023 presidential elections. So if you are wondering what is the topic, making the case for JMB candidacy and presidency. And in this particular edition of our show, Alice Chuchu Jones and Job Preston Lobo will make the case for JMB. Or Chuchu is here now, he's all set, and so we will get to it. Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Why is JMB a better choice for the CPP candidacy for 2023?
Thank you, and that's a very, very good question. First, I would like to say, I think my statement clearly indicate that we're a think tank and a pressure group. Okay. We've been speaking on Liberian issues for over a year. So this is not restrictive to Joseph Boakai, or this is not anti-Alex Cummings or anyone. I think we've concluded already that this government is a disaster. Our organization came into being as a result of the devastation, as a result of the lack of leadership in Liberia. So we began working and observing the CPP. So with great dismay, we're not big fans of it. We believe that there was a lot that could have been done. But to answer your question directly, we did not orchestrate the CPP. The members of the CPP, the four political parties, got together and decided to formulate this collaboration. They also agreed that out of the four of the political leaders could be their candidate. They further agreed that of the four, two of them were seeking the presidential candidacy in the presence of VP Joseph Boakai and Alex Cummings. So we continue to monitor the situation. We talk to all parties. We hold deliberations on these events and eventualities. And we've come to the conclusion that there is more support within the CPP for Joseph Boakai than there is for Alex Cummings, right? In a democratic society, it's majority. It's not who's right or who's more qualified or who more deserving. If that was the case, George Weah wouldn't be president. For Clarity, much less Liberia. It's who the people want.
So hold on, Alex. So are you trying to tell us that the reason you are supporting Joseph Boakai is not because he's qualified, is because, in your opinion, more Liberians want him to be the president? Is that why?
Absolutely. That is my first point.
And how is that a good reason for supporting him?
Well, because the people in a democracy have the power.
And the people exercise their power and chose Weah, and you said that is a disaster. And the same people, in your opinion, are leaning to Joseph Boakai. You don't care whether or not that may be another disaster?
No, I don't, because that's democracy. If we don't want democracy, we can move back to a military regime. We can move back to totalitarianism. But if we want democracy, that means if Ansony Sieh is the selected one by the people, then we have to live and die with him.
Well, Alex, what's wrong with you finding a candidate that can produce results, selling the candidate? Because the candidates that you talk about, because the people want them, maybe because they are popular, right? It's because the people have favored them. So why can't you sell somebody who can deliver results that the people too can favor? What's wrong with that?
That is perfectly fine, and we've tried to do that. I think you're aware we encourage and help to even launch the Tawan Gongolo for presidency. In fact, I worked personally with his campaign to bring him to the table.
And what happened?
With other candidates. Well, it's a personal choice. He has not announced at this point his candidacy, and that's a choice that he has to make. All right, he's still exploring and still deliberating. I don't know, maybe he's waiting for Amos Sawyer to tell him when to announce or whatever. But I can tell you, Liberians have suffered. They do not have the time or the luxury to sit around and play games.
But do you believe, Councillor Gongro is a very good candidate, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think Councillor Gongro, provided if he launches his campaign and he has the right people on his team and he evaluate what his policies are. Again, we are not here to promote anyone just because of name. We want to see what you're providing. We want to hear what you have to say. So again, as much as I may personally be favoring someone like a Gonglo or Sarah Yenti or even a Dennis Jai,
but did you hear from Gonglo? Did you hear from Gonglo? Election is 2 years away.
I have spoke with Councillor Gonglo on many occasions. Like I said, I've worked with him, and at this point, it's his decision to come out and announce what he's running and what he's running on, which party, how, and then the movement would take a look at that and would determine if we're going to endorse him or not. At this point, the two candidates we have in the CPP is Joseph Boakai and Alex Cummings. That's what you have.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Let me welcome George Preston Lobo, the host of the Drive Informative Show. And by the way, I am one of the followers of the Drive, and I have the privilege to also be one of the administrators on the Drive page. I can make that full disclosure. Mr. Lobo, he always called me GM brother, so I said, GM brother, welcome to the discussion.
Good morning, Ansony. It's a privilege to be here with you guys this morning. To my good friend Alex Jones, I say thank you. It's an honor to join you guys and be part of this great conversation this morning.
Well, Joy, it seems to be you got a member. You and myself wearing the same coat.
My man, I mean, all of a sudden, man, you know, and given what you did to us yesterday, I could not have, I should not be close to you. But that's the beauty of politics, and I'm here to provide clarity to some of this.
I think our very fair and balanced yesterday, George.
To some extent, believe that you could have done more. You know?
Okay. Well, it's a learning experience. Again, George, welcome. George, Mr. Alex Chuchu Jones has made a declaration to support Ambassador Joseph Boakai. What do you make of that?
First and foremost, Ansony, let me take this time. I was going to reach out to Mr. Jones. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but he is a very good friend and a brother. We do disagree in public, in private, and I will tell you. And I think this capture is one of those captures that should be celebrated. And here's why. For me not to have spoken to him, had no understanding that he would reach such a decision, knowing his position. I'm telling you, I mean, if I was in Boakai's mind, this is something that we all must celebrate, knowing where Alex stands. I've always been about us, especially the Unity Party. He have acknowledged some of those wrong things, which we've discussed lengthily. But I think what rational Liberians are doing now is saying, with all these great promises that are out there, but who have done something? Of all these candidates, who have been part of something that we can say they've done something? And Ansony, the Liberians are not going to be carried away anymore. If there's any party that has a proven record of growing the budget, expanding the economy, increasing primary access to healthcare, attracting foreign direct investments, leaving infrastructure, building roads, increasing people's salary, that is the Unity Party government. And on the basis of that, we can acknowledge some of the things that were not done perfectly. We can point out some of those wrong things that we believe now that Ambassador Boakai can be able to clear them up, giving his style of leadership, giving his discipline. So a capture of Miller Alex Jones, who is a very vocal guy, smart guy, understands the issue, knows what needs to be done. I'm pretty sure Alex Jones wants to help Liberia increase their revenue potential and regulate some of our financial institutions. I'm sure now he has come to the conclusion that until you have a government that people in there can listen to him and understand what he's preaching, he can never regulate the bank. He can never be able to hold these banks accountable. So he can sit in Florida and enjoy the sun, the sunlight on the beach. But we must first and foremost ensure that we have a government that is responsible, that understands. So when he goes to Liberia, and people can say, yeah, this man makes sense. This man can be in this commission. This man can do this. Until we do that, I think that is what you are now saying, Ansony. Liberians are coming together. Rational people are saying, who gave us the best chance to take the country from George Weah? And what is this person like? And that is the basis upon which, Mr. Jones, I want to say I will reach out to you. They definitely, our team will. We want to say thank you very much. You are highly welcome to this great team. We are moving. The train have left the station. Ansony said, we move.
Thank you, Josh.
To the next bus stop because we are in our way.
That's the new talk in Liberia, folks. We move. I have to look into that, what it actually means. But Mr. Alex Chuchu Jones, I have to ask you again. You were with Team Gonglo. Team Gonglo is still in the making. You have time on your hands. But out of a sudden, I don't know whether the narrative or because you're listening to some waka waka pool that people call, say, hey, JMB, and now it's like a bandwagon movement. So my question is, are you joining the bandwagon here, or you're making a conscious decision about a capable leadership for Liberia?
All right. Again, thank you very much, George, for your kind words. As you clearly indicated, I did not have any conversations with anybody in the Boakai camp. I do not know Joseph Boakai personally. I've never spoken with him, and he's never been my, primary choice. Okay, not even Gonglo, my choice, who I personally know and have spoken to and feel could make a very good presence in Liberia as a president is Sarah Yenti, who works at the UN, but she's not running. Again, my stand here is a national duty. It's not a partisan one. I do not take this decision because I want to be part of JMB team or part of Cummins team or part of Tewan Gonglo's team. As much as I've worked with Tewan Gonglo, I have some of my own issues and disagreement. And I think all Liberians should start to look at Liberia objectively and put the sentiments aside and look at what's best for the country so we all can build a better society. If we keep going with passions and who you like and who you close to and who the country is not going to move forward. What I'm saying here today is if Mr. Cummins had the kind of support within the CPP, you have 4 leaders. If 3 of the leaders come out and endorse one of them, this is a full blown conclusion. Why should we be wasting any more time talking about primaries, survey? We should be putting all our efforts now behind this so that we can get, George Weah out of power. Because what people don't understand is, number one, Liberia debt is now almost 1.5 billion. We have a negative GDP. Even with the best effort, all right, you borrowing about over $150 million every year, in some cases at 25% interest rate. That's a recipe for disaster. Liberia is bankrupt. Even if George Weah left today. So you don't have time as a luxury. We need to get together so that we can work, all Cummins, Boakai, Gongolo, all of us to work together first. Get this man out of office that's destroying Liberia, that's dividing Liberia, that has ruined our reputation. You got Koji and all these people sitting in Washington, D.C., not a foreign minister.
So, Alex, I'm not preventing you in any shape or form to deal with Weah, and many of all of the 2 of you know where I stand when it comes to Weah.
Okay.
He's incompetent. He's a waste of time for our country. But you are here to make the case for Joseph Boakai over Alex Cummins. So let's stick to that. And Josh Lobo just welcome you in his official capacity because he's an official of the of a Unity Party. Do you accept or reject? Because while you told me, well, you're just supporting him because it's a conscious decision you're making. But now he has welcomed you to their team. Do you accept or reject that offer to be on Team JMB?
All right. So the fact of the matter is, and that's why I took the time to read the statement, my position. Mm-hmm. the movement of to make Liberia better is a think tank. We have been working on solutions for the last year: healthcare, education, the economy. We work on this issue to provide leader, to help whoever is leader. If that's Cummings, is that even George Weah came to us and say, what can we do to reduce interest rate at the central bank so Liberians can get loans and the economy can grow? We will provide those solutions. We will work with them because we're doing it for the country. So absolutely, we will work with the candidate of the CPP. We believe they are the 4th largest Liberian political party. And if Liberia must progress and remove George Weah, we have to move to help them. So we'll be helping as a team.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Alex. Josh, let me come to you. There's a question I asked Alex earlier while you were en route, and I need to ask you that question. Why is JMB a better choice for a CPP candidate?
Thank you very much, Mr. Sieh, for that great question. And here's why. Very simple. Number one, we strongly believe that the office of the vice president, which the Constitution, Article 51, requires you to advise the president. Mm-hmm. We also see that as the next step up to the presidency. And apart from that, let's look at the individual we are marketing, Ambassador Joseph Nyuma Boakai. What is his record? This is someone who has served in public service for 25 years. My fellow Liberians, let me correct this, and I hope all radio talk show hosts can correct this information. Ambassador Boakai has been in public service for 25 years. Not 40, not 90, not 80 years. Now, what are we talking about in terms of public service? This is someone who has led 2 major public corporations in the Republic of Liberia. This is someone who has served as a cabinet minister, was Minister of Agriculture for 3 years. This is someone who was vice president for 12 years. Now, let's look at his performance as vice president. As vice president, he got to travel over 40 different trips, represented Liberia, signing of major MOUs. Not only that, represented Liberia at the United Nations General Assembly 3 different times, represented Liberia at the African-China Summit when Liberians were dying in thousands in 2014. This is the man who led the efforts of the Liberian government at the UN General Assembly, where he also went to Washington, D.C., met with President Barack Obama and then Vice President Joe Biden. So we say Ambassador Boakai. One, he has the experience. Now, Mr. Sieh, we need to understand something here. Winning an election, you must also be electable. That means the people must be willing to vote for you. A lot of times, people who don't win election is not because they don't have platform or they're not smart. For example, we have Topana Tipote in Liberia. The Liberians have just decided not to trust him. Now, this election is important to the growth and the future of our country. What we are saying, who poses the best chance to defeating Weah and knows what needs to be done on day one. We could not have asked for any better candidate than the former vice president. This is a man who is ready. This is a man who has demonstrated that he's responsible. This is a man who believes in the rule of law. This is a man who has said to the Liberian people that in his first 90 days in office, he is going to ensure that the former government which he will replace will be audited. This is a man who has said in his first 90 days that there will be no car stock anywhere around Liberia. He has made it very clear. We have articulated.
Mr. Lobo, if I can follow up, what I'm hearing from you is more like your description. I want you to give me an accomplishment, because if Mr. Boakai is to be elected president, Liberians need to look at what is his track record in terms of accomplishment before they can make that decision. If you agree with me, can you share that?
Absolutely. Let me do a lot of them for you. Let's go to LPMC, for example, where he spent 9 years. Mm-hmm. Well, first day he started off at the LPMC as a warehouse supervisor, Ansony. As a warehouse supervisor, based on performance, he would then rise up to the position of purchasing manager. Ansony Sieh, when Ambassador Boakai went to LPMC, where he was a warehouse supervisor, he will later on rise up to become the first Liberian managing director of LPMC. Prior to him departing LPMC, he left LPMC with a turnover of over $50 million that was being contributed to our national budget. Not only that, Ansony Sieh. When we go to, let's take Lofa, for example. Under Ambassador Boakai leadership, one of the largest palm farms was planted, was was constructed in that place. Not only that, the roads from West Songa to the Sierra Leone border was built when Ambassador Boakai was LPMC managing director. Let's fast forward the conversation as vice president, because many a time people ask, what has he done? What has he done? As vice president, where the Constitution requires him to advise the president. Not only that he advised the president, he was very much engaged in settling most of the disputes when it has to do with land, reconciliation effort. No, let me finish, because it is important that Liberians understand these things. I just told you, Ansony Sieh, when Liberians were dying in thousands during Ebola in 2014, Ambassador Boakai came to the United Nations General Assembly, routed the world, went to Washington, D.C., met with Barack Obama, secured $25 million plus the deployment of U.S. troops to Liberia. Not only that, I can go on and on, but like I said, Mr. Sieh, one thing that is needed come 2023 is, who do you trust more? Whatever leader will come to power will not begin to enrich himself and his colleagues. This man have been tested.
All right, Josh.
5 years, there's no proving corruption allegation scandal on him. I'm speaking English.
And George, I will come to that no proving, because in order for us to know whether there is not any proving allegation, or corruption allegation against him, there has to be an audit. So I will come to that, but let me come to Alistair Jones. Mr. Jones, in Lobo's deliberation, he listed something like, Honorable Boakai actually representing Liberia at the United Nations in other countries. His role, if he was sent by the president, he had to go. Even Gaddafi, even Mahmoud Ahmadinejad of Iran, anybody, once you're in that capacity, you attend. How does that in any way a record that this man would be able to deliver tomorrow? I too can be sent by a president to represent at the United Nations.
And you're absolutely correct. And because of time, because I have to get back to work, I know. So I'll get through this for now. My concern, is, does Ambassador Boakai has the experience, the knowledge, the capacity to serve as president? Yes, I believe that. Alice Cummings believes that, and almost everybody in Liberia believes that. Now, his past record, where they're questionable, in terms of some of his duties or some of his decisions, yes. But we're looking at someone who is capable, someone who has been able to unite the coalition to some extent and to bring some consensus up until today. And where I'm so
Alex, can you define the capability you're talking about for
my audience to understand? So far, the coalition has been working.
The coalition is exploring. Alice, you are very smart.
Why is it exploring? It's only exploring in the last few weeks, because there's a contention between Alice Cummings and Ambassador Boakai. If Alice Cummings today was selected for the leadership position in the CPP, I'm telling you, all the same people who are saying, "Oh, the coalition has problems," they will be praising Ambassador Boakai. So
how you know that?
Because they have praised him. Cummings was on this very
praises in Liberia is common. Joshua is being praised. Joshua is even getting the most praises right now.
Yes, but Cummings was on this very program.
So praises can be a yardstick, Alex.
But let me say this: Cummings was on this very program, Focus, and he himself admitted any one of the political leaders in the CPP would do a better job than Joshua. That's Cummings' word. So anybody in ANC,
what were Honorable Boakai's words?
Honorable Boakai said that he alone can win Joshua.
He's the only one that can take.
And it has some validity in that. If you look at the statistics, all right, Cummings could not even win Maryland County, where he's from, in this going senatorial election. ANC has not built, and let me say some things about ANC. ANC is a great party. I have friends there. I think ANC, some point, is the future of Liberia. If I had to join a political party today, I probably would join ANC. But that's not the issue. The issue here is this.
So Alice, let me hold you there. I will do my job. Yeah, Alice, let me hold you there.
Okay.
You are emphasizing on experience. If I'm understanding
we're emphasizing on.
You are emphasizing experience as a determining factor.
Not necessarily. Listen, Barack Obama.
But do you agree that Honorable Boakai does have the necessary experience? Do you agree?
I would agree, yes. More
so what kind of experience is that? The experience of working in government? Is that what it is?
Yes, it counts. It counts.
So let me
if the experience of working in government counts, if the experience, hold on, Josh, if the experience of working in government should be a yardstick, name me one person who have worked in government before becoming president, and how did the person do?
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
Finance
minister. Ellen Johnson LBDR. Ellen Johnson was able to get the debt waived. Ellen Johnson had one of the best foreign relation policy in Liberian history. It counts.
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf that left our immense education system, and you're going to post
that put things in context. Again, what we do at
please be patient because he will be leaving and you will still be left here.
There's a difference between while we're here, we're thinkers. We're academics. We are not here to sing praises. I do not like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I don't think she's a nice person. But the reality is, Ellen Johnson administration was far better, and it was at least one of the better administrations in Liberia in terms of fiscal management. Some of the very processes that are using today at the Ministry of Finance. It was Ellen Johnson Sirleaf that put those.
Did she do well when it comes to the fight on corruption?
No, she did not. But if you look at again, that's what I'm saying. If you look at even the Democrats in America, you look at Barack Obama, the Democrats have been running government for how many years, how many decades, almost a century. Do you go in Chicago, go in African American community? Will you say that their work was perfect? No. So
do you really want to make that analogy? Because all us have failed. So why? So
no, the analogy I'm making, let's be realistic. The analogy I'm making is to say that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is not perfect and Joe Boakai is not perfect. Okay? When it comes to hindering certain things, Joe Boakai will have to rely on other people. And that's what good leaders do. Age is not a factor because most leaders in the world today that are age have done just as good of a job. We saw Ofwe Boye in Ivory Coast that developed Ivory Coast to some point where this man was in coma.
All right. Alex, let's focus on playing here.
So that's a big contention. No.
Yeah, Alex, let's focus on playing here.
President. You need
Alex, let's focus on playing. You are on record here on Focus on Liberia. We have all the tapes here, and you do know we do have them. You are on tape that in order for you to support anybody, they have to show you their plan. You even went as far as I want to even see your plan on your website. Have you checked to see if Ambassador Boakai has a plan for Liberia?
No, but
have you checked to see if this plan is on a website like jmb.com?
It will still remain in that plan. Who told you that because we are in support of JMB?
It's unfair. Let me answer. Don't worry. It's unfair. Hold on. Don't worry. You don't need to answer that. So Ansony said you can't. Let me answer that for you.
Okay.
Because we are in a political season, right? There are a lot of things we've done, Ansony said, and I won't be bringing to the public because strategy is important. But I can assure you, the Joseph Nyuma Boakai camp, the one that I belong to, that before we get to this election, before sometimes early next year, the Liberian people will be able to log on the JMB website, and I put this upon everything on my character, where you will be able to see his plans for healthcare, the details for healthcare, the details for agriculture, and you will. I have seen it, but again, timing is important in politics. So you don't expect us to throw everything out there because there could be people who copy from what we do. What you saw the other day, I will tell you, you saw the launching of the tag team. I will tell you what we have.
How much did you raise, by the way, George? How much did you raise?
Just hold on 1 second now. Let me finish. That's important. What I'm giving you today, and listen to me on this. What we are going to be launching, will be 5 times more than what you saw the tag team do. So let's just leave that on the issue website. You will see it. We've made that very clear. We are not afraid of playing. And I want to be very clear, Ansony, especially those in the fourth estate, right? This is someone who is not just jumping in the political process. He ran before. So it's fair also to know that whatever plan he articulated in 2017, those plans have not died. So if you want to consistently ask about plan, then I think it's fair to say, take what he brought 2017, because he has not changed. It's the same guy. But let's proceed on the issue of, there's one thing.
2017, those plans were not on a website, George.
Oh,
you know
let me
right?
finish now, Mr. Sieh. Let me clarify something you spoke on yesterday. And I told you, when Mr. Jones leave, I will have the time on that. You made mention of the tag team raise money. And I think, you must see, brother, I always say that. But I think we owe it on to our people to tell the people the truth. And let me say this today. The tag team of JMB at no point in time had a fundraiser. I repeat, the tag team at no point in time held a fundraiser. What happened was, it was the launching of the tag team. During that process, there were people who were moved by what they saw, and they decided to contribute. So this bag full of lies that has been paraded on social media.
George, let me hold you there. George, let me hold you there. You will hold.
We did not have a fundraiser because I was on there.
George, please hold. So let me tell you, I have a friend on JMB team, attack team, Larama Yonton. The launching was also in concert with a fundraiser. So there were two things they were trying. No, George, let me learn. They were launching and at the same time to funds raise. That's what I know. Go ahead.
So you heard Harry Costa say, Mr. Jones, I want you to please do this for all of us and for the listening audience. Harry Costa said, and I quote, he said, you guys know we'll set up a date where we'll come here, we'll do a fundraiser, because you know when we'll do fundraiser, we raise thousands and thousands of dollars. When people started making those contributions, he said, oh, we've not gone anywhere. People have started giving money, but we'll do fundraiser. One of the things Ansony said is that we were looking at Tommy because there was a program held at the former vice president's house. They had just come from the UP program and people were there. So we're just trying to get the former vice president off to come and show support, and then he will leave. So we said there will be a day for the fundraiser. But I want to be very clear for the records. The tag team did not hold a fundraiser at the luncheon. Those money.
Thank you. Let's get back to Alex.
So,
he will soon be leaving.
So yeah, let's go to Alex.
Let's get back to Alex. Mr. Jones, my question is still hanging there.
Right.
You have emphasized the need for any candidate to have a plan that you can see on a website before you can make a decision to join that team. Those are your words. I may be paraphrasing them, but those were your intention. Have you seen the JMB plan?
No, and I have not. I'm not a member of JMB's team. I'm not joining JMB's team. I'm speaking here in respect to what's going on in the CPP. There are two candidates vying for the party, presidential candidate. And all the information that we've received, all the posts out there shows that JMB is the more likable candidate, is the candidate that has the most support. That's all I'm seeing here. Does that mean that I'm not going to criticize JMB for playing? Absolutely not. I'm not going to hold that accountable.
I don't think that's all the pool, because the reason one that if those things you people consider poor in Liberia, when he was at ELBC, most of the colors that they say, JMB, maybe you should retire. So that the kind of pool you're talking about?
I'm not talking about that. Global Africans conducted a poll and showed JMB 51%. We surveyed.
I saw that on your website. How scientific is that?
It's very scientific because we spoke with journalists.
I would like to see the rubric because
actually now there's an article.
You know
that. There's an article that came with the poll that explained and expressed why that conclusion was met. So if you read the article, it will precisely tell you.
Okay, Alex, you didn't see JMB plan, but you have made a decision to support Team JMB. Nothing wrong with that. JMB has also articulated something they call arts. Have you heard about it? Do you know what it is? Does that make sense to you?
I do not. Like I said, my support here is based on the support within the coalition. That democratically speaking, the people in the CPP are in more support of JMB as a candidacy, and I think because of that, right, we should allow the people's will and let's start focusing on campaigning against George. We are going
and George, let me ask Alex my last questions because he has to go back to work. Alex, you are on record here at Focus on Liberia that you have been affiliating with for some time. That our country, Liberia, you know, and audience, excuse me for using this word, I can't put it any other way. It's a shithole country.
It is.
Do you still hold that view?
Yes, absolutely. What's in Liberia that
so if it is a shithole country, I believe you can hold past leaders accountable.
And absolutely, and I have.
And is Joseph Yimam Boakai one of those past leaders you hold
absolutely, and that's why you should be given the opportunity to fix it. Did I say here that Joseph Boakai is not? You see, and that's the problem. I clearly expressed that Joseph Boakai is not flawless. Joseph Boakai, of course, are serving in the Unity Party government. I've been one of the staunchest critics of the Unity Party government. I'm not a member of the Unity Party. I'm not a JMB supporter. I'm an analyst. Okay, and an analyst, you look
at correct yourself, Alex. You say you are supporting JMB now. So don't say I'm not a JMB supporter, please. Correct that.
Well, there's a difference in the sense that am I one of those who hoping for JMB to become the head? No. That's what
you are supporting him in the upcoming election.
What I'm saying is that there is more support for him in the CPP, and therefore I am saying he should be the one selected.
Their welcome decision, right?
Absolutely. The will of the people must be revealed.
Okay.
That's a democracy. So it's different from saying a supporter would be someone that is hoping what will come where may for this man.
I would love to have those questions you asked him, though.
John, you're hearing the question, write them down. I'll give you the opportunity to respond. Because the last time you when I had Colonial Crowd to you were saying, see him, brother, the way you gave her a chance, the next time I will give you a chance. You yet to make your case. I'm not here to argue. You are yet to make a case for your candidate. Alex, my man, that job you got is a big job. I don't want you to get in trouble. Say,
I got
so if you don't mind, you can give your closing statement. And
so again, I just want to be clear. All right. I think all the political leaders within the CPP should start deliberations on working out of means to move forward. I think that is more important. Am I saying that somehow if Cummings is capable of convincing, most of the people in the executive leadership of the CPP that he's a better candidate, that I wouldn't go and change my mind or my analysis. When the facts change, you change. That's what logic is. But at this current moment, he does not have the kind of support. He has not galvanized enough support within the CPP. He has not galvanized enough of key supporters, endorsement. The only people who are supporting Cummings are the people who are his fans and his supporters. But when we talk to independent,
and how you know that, Alex?
Because as a journalist, I speak with people.
Alex, in the past election, he won 112,000 votes. You see, you want to tell me those are only his supporters?
No, I'm talking about independent people who endorse him publicly. Who can you tell me have endorsed what you call ANC or Cummings publicly that is a significant voice in Liberia? Give me names. You got Darius DeLong, okay, again, who is a senator, who is also a key Liberian political leader. He's endorsing JMB. You got Henry Costa, who is also a key Liberian political influencer. He's endorsing JMB. You got Young Blake Kanga. So who is endorsing, Cummings? So people have not done enough of a job over the last year to get those endorsements behind him. Politics is about endorsement. Politics is about support. Joe Biden is not president because he's the best. He's the most vibrant or the most experienced. No, he was able to get Barack Obama to endorse him. He was able to get his people in the Democratic caucus to come behind him. And that's what makes a difference in a political race. So if Cummings goes and start to do that, things may change. And if things change, I have no alternative but to change my views. But for now, what I'm saying, JMB is the more likable candidate. And all polls are indicating that if JMB wins the nomination, he can win George Weah in the first round.
Thank you, Alex.
That's what is more important. And I will leave you. I hope to be back some point and we can have this conversation. Thank you again, Lobo, for your kind words. And we look forward to working with all the political parties and stakeholders in Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Alex Chuchu Jones, who is supporting Joseph Yimam Boakai. He said he's not a supporter of Joseph Yimam Boakai. What that means is He has not been supporting Joseph Yuman Boakai, but in this election, that's the one he's going with, and that is what he said. My man, again, let's get to business. You know, I've been hammered by people from your side. How my analysis have been unfair. I will make sure I give you time, but again, in this particular exclusive with you now, I will allow the audience to interact with you a little more. All right, I'll just have fewer questions. Let them ask their questions so you can address their questions and concerns. So those in cyberspace listening to us, we have George Preston Lobo, a supporter and executive of Unity Party. He is also the host of The Drive, a platform that I happen to be an administrator as well. But the only disagreement is right there, and you all know it. So, George, let's get to it. There are a lot of things I raised with Alice and that you wanted to address. The floor is yours.
So I wanted to begin with this question you asked, Mr. Jones, that Joseph Boakai traveling and George speaking of that, is that the kind of experience you're talking about? Ansony, let me say this to you. Anyone who leaves Liberia must understand, for a country like Liberia, from a 14-year civil conflict, 12 years of stability, trying with massive infrastructure deficit, massive skill deficit, stay depending on some type of foreign aid programs and things like that. What traveling becomes important. You need a president who has international and diplomatic understanding of the workings of the world. That is why those trips are important when we discuss Joseph Boakai in that context. Talking about him being at the UN, that means he has been there. He's not going to be a stranger. Ansony, I'll tell you one thing. Sometimes a country might struggle. A leader might fail, not because the leader is bad, the leader don't understand what is going on. But again, in Africa, for example, where you need to be able to raise capital to undertake development, to invest in your people. Ambassador Boakai, when we speak about those 40 different trips he took as vice president, attending the African-China Summit, the UN General Assembly, what is that saying to the Liberian people is that you have a man who the people can trust on day one, because he is not going to be a stranger to Xi Jinping. He is not going to be a stranger to Joe Biden. He is not going to be a stranger at the UN, for example. So that is what that experience counts. And let me make something very clear, Mr. Sieh. You continue to ask about Mr. Ambassador Boakai serving in government. What you need to make very clear, Ambassador Boakai have never been president. He has never. And knowing the functions of the vice president, it is unfair to judge him for what have not happened because of his role. If we take Mr. Cummings' word, Mr. Cummings have argued that one of the reasons why he can be vice president, or he can be a lawmaker, or he can serve as a minister, is because you can never be able to make the impact that you want to make in the country if you don't have the final decision-making power. So how is it that Mr. Cummings says it, and it makes sense, but then we criticize Ambassador Boakai, who has never been president? Mr. Cummings is making a case for Boakai by saying that because he can be vice president, you must be president. So Cummings is simply saying that, yeah, all the thing you're holding Boakai for, myself, I understand it. This is why I don't want to be vice president. Because it is when you are the president, you can be able to make the decisions to impact the people's life. And while some of us are speaking about, let's look at guys who are, when you ask about if someone working in government, does that mean they can come to power and be successful? Ansony, I think that question itself, we should not ask it yet. Because let's look around Africa. People we've seen, former leaders who have served in government, being in the institution, being in the organization, Mr. Sieh, it gives you an understanding of what is going on. Now, what are the good and bad? You are now able to say, okay, when I become this person, there's this I won't do, there's this I will improve on, there's this I will get rid of. The former vice president was very clear in his articulation one of these days on one of the interviews in Liberia while he was vice president. When the issue of Noka was brought forth to him, what was his response? He said, I do not hire, I do not fire. But when people say he did not speak out, that is a man expressing frustration. That if I had the authority to hire and to fire people, certain people will not be in certain positions. So what we are saying to the Liberians is this, that giving his performance, giving him being in government, it gives him an understanding of what needs to be done. He is no stranger to the political terrain. And I think, for the sake of this conversation, Vice President Boakai is the only most criticized, most scrutinized vice president on the planet Earth than any vice president I know. Because we can go to Zimbabwe, for example. Chineke Mnangagwa was vice president to Robert Mugabe. While inflation, where Zimbabwe hit hyperinflation, where people are using the Zimbabwean currency to do printing. The Zimbabweans didn't say you are vice president, and what did you do when Robert Mugabe was here? The Zimbabweans trusted him. We see what is happening. Let's go to Angola. When Dos Santos was president, who is the current president? It's a former vice president. Then let's go back to the late John Mogafani. When you speak of people being in government, Ansony, Sieh, John Mogafani was the white minister in Tanzania. We saw what he did when he became president. Let's go to our own Liberia. William Arrow Torbo was vice president to William V.S. Tubman for 19 years. When was the last time Liberian asked, what did Torbo do? What was Torbo's accomplishment? But when Torbo became president, he took the road from Totota and took it as far as Ganta. We saw some of the most progressive, aggressive reforms in Liberian history. And it's on that background, we are saying that Ambassador Boakai is not being judged unfairly, but the Liberian people know the facts. And one thing that Boakai has is his character, is his repetition. And what we need is a leader who can lead from day one, and that is what he brings to the table. And that is what I wanted to speak on.
Thank you so very much, George. And folks watching or here, I focus on Liberia. The phone lines are open. Please call, and I want you to be the one to do most of the questioning. Those of you who have questions for George, questions that maybe you would like for Joseph Yuman Boakai to address, please call. Again, the numbers to call are in the scrolling text below. Call the conference number 605-313-6004. We also will be providing a WhatsApp number very soon for folks who are in Liberia and other parts of the world that will like.
And I would like to address the question about his plans, because you've asked that question.
Exactly. So talking about the plans, let me ask this question, George. GMB previous or old plan was rejected by voters in 2017. What new plan does GMB have for Liberia? You say it's there, it's just that you yet to roll it out.
Okay, so let me be very clear. When you say his plans were rejected, I agree, because when a candidate does not win an election, then that means his plans were rejected. Now, that doesn't mean it changes his ideology or his physical belief or what he wants. Here's what we need to understand, Mr. Sieh. What was his major discussion in the 2017 elections? He spoke about the need for Liberia to reduce its dependency on foreign aid. Ambassador Boakai in 2017 said priority number 1 will be roads, priority number 2 roads, priority number 3 roads. Now, when people ask him, how do you intend to cut Liberia dependency on foreign aid? What did Ambassador Boakai say? There's a need for us to be fiscally disciplined. Our government must spend within its means. We must ensure that people are not taking money from public offices for themselves. Now, let's fast forward to 2021. What has he been articulating? He has maintained the same old thing. The only thing that has happened, he has modified. He has either based on the enormous amount of needs. So when people ask about his plan, let's look at what he's offering new for 2021. He has made it very clear. When people say he only offered a plan, arts, no. What Ambassador Boakai said, he said, I can sum up my entire economic recovery agenda for Liberia into 4-letter words. Those 4-letter words are ARTF, agriculture, roads, tourism, and sanitation. Now, why those 4-letter words? Ambassador Boakai have served in the agriculture sector. We believe that today the rice industry in our country, Liberia staple food, right now that industry is over $200 million. For too long, we continue to depend on importing rice. So we believe that if we can invest in agriculture, agriculture is one of those sectors of the economy that we can grow our budget exponentially. Without even, we don't need too many master degree holders. We can create so many low-skilled jobs in the agriculture sector. And if we can do that, Ansony said, we believe we can make Liberia self-sufficient. Now, we can also provide food for our people. And on the basis of that, that is why we spoke on agriculture. Now, let's look at Liberia. If we invest in agriculture, Mr. Sieh, no country developed in the 21st century in the absence of infrastructure, especially roads. Even if we have people in, let's say, Seklepi or in Tapeta producing rice, planting bananas, if they can't get it to Ganta to sell, and those plantains will get rotting, what good is it for an agricultural perspective? This is why Ambassador Boakai has said there is a need for us to invest in rural. And for a country that Liberia 170 some more years old, Ansony Sieh, we should be able to leave Monrovia and get to Harper in 4 or 5 hours or 8 hours at most.
But George, your party, hold on, George. I'm giving you time to explain. Hold on, George. You had 12 years.
Yeah.
What did you do in the 12 years that you couldn't get the road to Harper?
So let me help you on that. Very good. You see, Mr. Sieh, one thing we've not done, all of us, is this. For us to understand the level of progress that was made by the Unity Party government, we all should take a step back and do an assessment of what the Unity Party government inherited. What was the road conditions like in Liberia? How many paved roads did Liberia have prior to the UP government? The Unity Party government paved over 650 kilometers of road. Now, I'm not just going to, let me state some of those roads and you prove me, correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Sieh, prior to the UP government, what was the road like from Fishtown to Harper? It was the Unity Party government that paved that. The Unity Party government on March 27 in 2017 launched the construction of the phase 2 of the Fishtown to River G Road, $108 million, Mr. Sieh. Not only that, the UP government again secured $200 million to begin the pave. You have to understand, we came from war. We did not have the capital. So,
all right, thank you, George. Let's go to the cutoff.
No. Before you go to the cutoff, I don't want to do that because you've lamented greatly on the issue of the UP and no plans. Now that I'm here today, I want us to please, I will take the course. Let me complete the issue of plan because I've heard you articulate that Ambassador Boakai have no plan. He's not offering nothing. I think while I'm here, let's give the audience the chance to hear me out and so they know what our plans are, what we intend to do, and how we intend to do it, and how is that going to benefit them and grow the economy. So, Mr. Sieh, please, before I take any call, let me articulate the ART for our Liberian people today. And please give me that chance for a second. Let me get to, I was on roads before you brought in. So, the UP government left road construction ongoing. Unlike when UP came into power, there was no road construction anywhere for them. The roads in central Monrovia were in terrible condition. Yet then today, Liberians can boast about roads around Monrovia, can talk about they can leave from Rayleigh straight to Ganta, leave from Monrovia straight to Buchanan, leave from Kagada to Bon Mines. So we can go on and on. But Ambassador Boakai still believes that he wants to do more.
George, you know, I mean, you are
Ansony Sieh.
George, you are on record.
Can you let me to finish?
George, you have the time here. Don't worry about time. We have the time here allotted for you. You are on record for telling us that everything about the CDC is we will, we shall, we're looking into, we're thinking about. And you are here doing the same thing when being asked about Joseph Yaman Boakai's plan.
So let me help you now. Let me help you here.
George, you can talk about the plan any kind of way you want. If we don't see it on paper, if we don't see it on a website, you know, it's hard for people to believe.
Ansony Sieh, the plan is what the leader articulates to his people. What I'm saying here is something Ambassador Boakai himself have articulated. And I just told you, Mr. Sieh, this is not someone who, this is his first time running for president. He has run for president in the past. So let me finish up on this.
Our followers are crying.
No, George. Let me finish. You told me the time is allotted to me.
Yeah, George, 1 minute, please. 1 minute, please. Go ahead.
So let me listen. If a caller calls in, I'm going to put it down in the order of priority. I must complete this articulation of this plan because it's important. We want to speak on the issue of the ARTS. Let's come to tourism, for example, Mr. Sieh. In a country like Liberia where there's massive unemployment, especially among the young people, Ambassador Boakai believes that if we can produce food, feed ourselves, and we can reduce our dependency on imports, we can now take some of that money and invest in the tourism sector. He also knows that if we pave roads, Liberia got some of the most beautiful sites around, especially when it comes to beaches. Now, if a government invests heavily in tourism, we can create tremendous amount of jobs in the hospitality industry, in the services industry, hotels, resorts. Those are things we are looking at. Our goal here, Mr. Sieh, is to diversify the Liberian economy. And when you look at Ambassador Boakai's ART plan, what it does is a way in which the economy is diversified to 3 to 4 different major spectrum, two different areas: agriculture, tourism. Why is sanitation important? You listen to, I don't know if you heard the press conference this morning. The faculties of the University of Labrador are complaining that they will no longer engage in academic activities because of how filthy the conditions are at the university. We need to invest in sanitation. We need to clean our environment. We believe that if we can invest in sanitation, Mr. Sieh, that will reduce our healthcare costs. Now we can use our money to invest in other things to continue to develop our country. So the notion that we don't have a plan is not true. And I'll be very clear, Mr. Sieh, upon our launching of that website, you do have the tag team website where you can go on there and see things about Ambassador Boakai, but we are going to have more and more so that Liberians can forever and ever, you can wake up in the morning and say, Mr. Lobo, I went on the JMB website and saw this, and we'll continue to put that.
Thank you. And that is what shows seriousness, right? Look, when Joe Biden launched, Joe Biden website was up. His plan to make America better was right there. But all I'm hearing here, in 2017, we didn't see the plan on the website. We are talking about 2023. All we're hearing is the plan is in Joseph Nyeman Boakai's mouth. The plan is in George Lobo, his staff surrogate's mouth. We want to see it on a website. Focus on Liberia, just a little media institution. Go on our website, our policies, everything right there. We're not going to be talking plenty. Well, let's open the phone line. We have Joe Moyu on the line. Mr. Moyu.
Quickly, Joe Moyu?
I hear you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sieh. It's nice to be back on. I just want to make a little statement. First of all, I have to give it to Mr. Lobo. He has a lot of energy and passion for Ambassador Boakai.
I know, right?
Now, look, let's face it. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Honorable Boakai is the product, and we have to admit it, of a broken system. He did time in that system for what, 40 plus years from the time he started working within the Liberian government. So I don't see him suddenly having a wake-up moment or a road to Damascus moment and moving away from the habit he had acquired within that broken system after 40 plus years. So what we're seeking in a president, what we should be seeking in a president is someone that understands the connected tissues between the country's natural assets, human resources, and parlaying that for wealth creation and prosperity in our country. Boakai had an opportunity 12 years to do it, he and Ellie. That didn't happen. So there's nothing in Honorable Boakai's background that says he's up to the task. What did I say?
No, go ahead. We listen to you.
No, I said that's nothing. And you've asked Mr. Jones before, you asked Mr. Lobo before, and they're struggling to answer basic questions like, what is his track record? Doing a checklist of what he did at LPNC, agriculture, that's not, when we say track record,
thank you.
Okay, well, he met this organization at a very low ebb. And he, because of his creativity and innovation, here's what he did, and he came up with X amount of dollars. He met maybe a budget of $1 million, and when he met, it was $100 million. We can say, yeah, okay, this guy, he's a visionary or something.
Thank you.
You don't see anything like that.
Thank
so
you.
That's why these people are struggling to make a case for him.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so very much. Josh, go ahead. You just listened to Mr. Moyo.
So you see, Mr. Sieh, I have respect for all the callers. I respect their views. But I think if we're going to be calling these public discussions forums, I think we ourselves should examine our own statements and know what we're saying. You heard him say that we've not been able to articulate what they inherited and where they left it. The very first thing he began on the first note of lying, that Ambassador Boakai 40 years of public service record, that is a lie. And let me say this to him. I told you what Ambassador Boakai inherited at LPMC, and I told you he went there as a warehouse supervisor and will leave as the first Liberian managing director and will leave LPMC with a turnover over $50 million. I understand that comprehension is a challenge for many of us, but since you said that Ambassador Boakai worked in a system that was a failed system, now you ask what they inherited and what they left, then I think it's a fair argument. So, Mr. Sieh, let me provide some education for our friends. The Unity Party inherited a national reserve of $6.5 million in 2006. When the UP government left power after 12 years, we left $154.8 million. The UP government inherited a budget of $80 million. When we left power, we left a budget of $526 million. When the UP came into power, access to primary healthcare was at 40%. When we left, access to primary healthcare was over 80%. What did we inherit in terms of road when we came into power? There was zero road construction anywhere. We made bad roads all across the country. When we left power with over 700 paved kilometers of road around Monrovia, all around the country. So if we want to go on that path, we can continue. But let me make one point very clear. We need to stop saying that Ambassador Boakai had his opportunity. Ambassador Boakai, for you to use that word in that context, Ambassador Boakai have not served as the president. So I think that itself is some of the dishonest analysis of Ambassador Boakai, characterization of Ambassador Boakai's position that we need to first educate ourselves on. And let me say this, fellow Liberians, please do yourself a favor. Read Article 51 of the Liberian Constitution, and then ask yourself, when you want to say he has had that position, he has never. So, Mr. Sieh, the 12 years of I can argue that.
And George, may I throw this in?
Go for it, any day.
Ambassador Joseph Yuman Boakai, accurately, he's a statesman. I believe that he's a man of peace. I can say that any day about him, okay? I believe he's a man of peace. But when you look at what is obtaining in the CPP, the bickering, and he should be the adult in the room or in the union. This thing is imploding, George. Does that have any reflection in any shape and form on Honorable Joseph Yuman Boakai, in your opinion, or not?
Absolutely, it will. It should, on all of them, especially him. But again, Mr. Sieh, you must understand, because a pastor have children, and one of the pastor's son will be seen out in the public drinking or drunk driving and arrested. That does not mean that the pastor is a bad pastor. That's one thing we need to be very clear about. And you know, there's a parable in my native tribe where they say you can born a child, but you can't born the child's heart. Again, some of these bickering are self-created problems. What Ambassador Boakai have not done, Mr. Sieh, is to undermine the CPP. Ambassador Boakai have not been the one running to the press trying to create these circumstances. I'm pretty sure not everything he has always agreed with, but in the interest of the CPP, he sat at those meetings. He agreed with his colleagues. Whether he disagreed, at the end of the day, he's reached consensus because you know what? That is the unity he has professed to be. And I agree with you. Yeah, he's a statesman. Again, Mr. Cummings, to some extent, Mr. Sieh, have written and have ordered his people to hold their fires. And you have to understand, Ansony said, this is a political engagement, whether people will say or not. This is not something that people should expect to be. We are not going to a church conference. We want the CPP standard bearership. And what we in the Unity Party from the Joseph Boakai camp say is clear. Our fires, our artillery remain open. We will return more fire when the fire is sent at us.
All right.
I
think you guys need to cease fire.
Let me end this point. I am going to instruct my troops, my battlefield commanders out there. When anyone
I don't want you to use those words, battlefield commander. You know where we're coming from. Please.
I know. Okay. Let me say this to our UP.
You are not lack of words, so use the better word.
Let me use this and say to my UP men out in the field. If someone fire at you, make sure you return more fire than what they send your way. Because we believe we are strong proponent of the Newton-Taylor law of motion. To every action,
let me bring in the next caller because I don't know where you're going with that. Let me bring in my caller. Or caller Sam or Totolo. I mean, Totolo. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Josh. I get a couple of questions. One, you always make reference about the Kone has not worked in he doesn't have a governmental experience. The John Molu have a governmental experience before he had a greater impact? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. He's listening.
Hello?
Go ahead. He's listening.
Okay. So did John Molu have a governmental experience before working as a GAC director and had a greater impact? What about that Sieh that went and turned the finance ministry around? Did they have governmental experience? 2, you always talk about DMB working in LPNC. You say you lived in Ghana for a short period of time. Have you heard of the name, the PQ? He turned LPNC around. So when you talk about LPNC, sometimes I just laugh because if you look at PQ records or board, I think even graduate from high school, I think I'm managing director of LPNC. He had a better record compared to the DMB. The fact that there, normal day in Ghana, he even had a huge program when he turned the revenue corporate around. So when you're talking about those things, and the last thing you misled people, you said that it was the municipal government that decentralized banking, and it's not true. They have agricultural bank in Banga, in Bon County, before the war, and they have agricultural bank in Lima, especially in Ghana. So I just want you to get it fast straight. Next time, don't mislead the public.
Thank you. Thank you so very much there, Sam, for your question. George Lobo will answer that question. George, I'm sure you heard him, right? All right.
Take another call, please.
All right. I'll take another call. We don't have a caller right now, but do what you're doing, George. Again, folks, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is our program, the Hour of Politics. We are discussing.
Mr. Sieh, sorry, I would like for you to at least kind of maybe help me out there because it was cutting in. What was his major point?
So his major point was that you are on record for saying Mr. Cummings had not worked in government.
Yes.
So we can trust him to making a better impact, all right, when he becomes president. So he cited people like Ansony, Sieh, John Molu, who did not work in government before the most recent position they held in the government. So he said, how can that be any way of something that to disqualify or Alex Cummings?
Great, let me answer that for him. I like his point.
And George, take the caller because he's been calling back and forth.
Okay, so let me
go ahead and ask your question, please.
John Molu.
My name is Jihudi Emmanuel A.S. Morris, the 7th calling from Pennsylvania.
Go ahead.
My question to John Lobo is about LPNC. Joseph Boakai was investigated about corruption in LPNC because he stated that Joseph Boakai had no corruption or track record in that area. That's my first question. Number one. Number two, when Joseph Boakai was vice president under the early administration, what happened to the budget of the group of 72nd for the disabled people for 12 years in Joseph Boakai had? More than $4 to $5 million. That's the question.
Thank you so very much. George?
Yeah.
And George, please keep them brief so that we can be more interactive. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so let's get to the question of John Molu and Ansony Sieh. I want to thank the caller for answering his own question and why he said he was asking me. Ansony Sieh did not come to Liberia and say she want to be president. That is our argument we've been making. That is the same argument many Liberians are making. That because Mr. Cummings comes from the private sector, he has zero understanding of the public sector, that Mr. Cummings should at least serve in a capacity. He should serve in a role to understand the inner workings of government. And the John Molu you called, John Molu served, he was at GSE, so that tells you he has gone into government, he conducted audits in government. The Ansony Sieh did not come and say she just want to be minister or president. Ansony Sieh went to Ministry of Finance. So tomorrow when she comes back and says
but Josh, did government experience only when it is presidency? Then
no, let me finish. No, let me finish. What we are arguing here is that serve and understand. Because Ansony said the private sector is regulated by the public sector. The private sector does not regulate itself. So you must have a functioning, stable public sector, which regulations, which reforms create that vibrant private sector. So The argument we are making here is that we have someone from the public sector with this much experience, and why should we push him aside and take a man from the private sector with zero public sector experience? That is our argument. And
but Giorgio has no one.
Let me answer the question.
Has no one without a government experience served as president before, and what it said that everybody who has served as president. My question is, are there individuals who did not serve in public office or in the public sector and then became president, and there was all disaster? Everybody.
Mr. Sieh, we can see, Mr. Sieh, we live in America. Let's see Dr. Donald Trump. We saw how his policies were. We saw what happened to America around the world. We saw some of the things he did. So that is a typical example for you. That is why the Americans say, you know what? We are going back to someone with public service experience and to rescue our country. Americans would not have said that they wanted to rescue their country if they felt that Donald J. Trump was doing very well. We saw what was happening. And on the basis of that, Joe Biden, the man with over 40 years of experience, was brought back to rescue America. So let me answer. A caller asked a question about LPMC. Again, Mr. Sieh, I spoke here and I was very clear in my deliberation. And I said that there have been zero proving corruption allegation on Ambassador Boakai. And the caller who called from Pennsylvania, Mr. Sieh, tell him if he has the facts, the documents to that effect. I would love to have it, because then
has JMB been audited?
Mr. Sieh, if JMB have been audited, that is not JMB prerogative, because you know what? Every government that comes to power, it is your obligation. If you felt there was something nefarious, that is when you conduct an audit. If the GSC, when he was vice president, felt that monies were appropriated for his office and something had happened, or there were complaints that of allotments that did not go where it should have gone, then there's an audit. Then you say, okay.
The Unity Party government audit JMB office.
What do you mean by this? The Unity Party, there were several audits conducted in several different agencies. If Ambassador Boakai office were not audited, is that the yardstick that I'm going to argue here? I don't know about it, because there were several audits that were done. As far as I'm concerned, there have been nothing nefarious of his 25 years plus of public service record. And let's speak to that. So here's what I would say. I think what we should do, I would join the statement of our chairman, Marito's chairman, Wilmon Pay, when he said to the CDC government, come and audit us. You heard our chairman, current chairman, Amin Mudar. He said the other day, we encourage the CDC government to audit us if you feel there's something.
And I like that, but Josh, what I also want to know is that whether Ambassador Boakai was audited when he served as vice president for 12 years. Was there any audit? You don't know?
Mr. Sieh, I can't sit here and promise you, as far as I'm concerned, I do not have the GSA reports. There was nothing about Ambassador Boakai that for which the fact that someone does not get audited don't mean that something nefarious happened. So that's another thing we need to understand, because normally in accounting, for example, if you believe that if you look at your books and everything balances and everything is correct, then that's fine. If you feel that something is not there, then you audit. You want to make sure, because the purpose of auditing is for the purpose of accountability and transparency.
Now, but just when you conduct an audit, even when the records are clean, you answer the question, George.
That's my point.
You answer my question. I'm certified, George. What I'm saying is that if an audit is conducted, I know audit is to verify whether anything wrong was done. That equally means that if nothing was done wrong, the audit should also establish it. Do you agree?
Oh, it's a fair
so since if we can assume for the sake of this discussion that all right, nothing nefarious, nothing wrong was done by Joseph Yuman Boakai, what is the information now in the public space as well?
Maybe the GSC didn't see the need to audit him. That's about what to audit his office, because the GSC, I'm pretty sure you heard Seditian say there are thousands and thousands of audits that were conducted.
And given these questions that Liberians are asking, including myself, as somebody in the media, don't you think it would be prudent for JMB or you, JMB team, to say, look, let's go check and see if there are audit records. And if that nothing went wrong, let's publish the records so that this will die away.
Mr. Sieh,
yes.
There was an institution responsible to audit all government agencies, ministries, and offices. Okay, which was the GAC. And I'm glad the CDC government have made it very clear that there are dozens of GAC audit reports lying there waiting for them. Now, the question should be, if the GAC didn't audit him, maybe the GAC felt there was nothing nefarious.
All right,
look, Mr. Sieh,
I think I will do my own research.
That's what I would recommend you do. But again, so we cannot continue to go with this assumption.
But I'm just thinking that maybe you guys can help me. You guys can
if I had it, I will, but I will just tell you.
Because if Mr. Boakai was audited, he will know that he was audited, and I'm sure he may have that information.
Yeah, but if he was not audited, maybe that means also that the GAC didn't feel that anything nefarious happened, that everything was fully accounted for. So that's why the GAC didn't audit him. So that's also a fair statement to make. I wanted to answer this question, please. When the caller said that on the issue of Ambassador Boakai and the 12 years, let me be very clear, Mr. Sieh. Ambassador Boakai have never served as president. In the 12 years of the UP government, I think we've debated this issue on Focus on Liberia numerous times. And I'm going to be very clear. Let me say this again. I'm going to pose this challenge out to you, Mr. Sieh, and anyone in the audience. If you believe you have a government in Liberia that has more accomplishment than the Unity Party government, I want you to reach out to Mr. Sieh, let him set the date. Let's come here. Let's deliberate on those governments so we can compare and contrast. This notion of sitting there and just saying, Mr. Sieh, we are in the 21st century. I'm not going to continue to sit there and say, oh, when I say the CDC is not performing, you said something that I am on record of the CDC. I'm talking about wanting to do and is going to do. Here's the difference, Mr. Sieh. When you are expiring for a position, you tell the people, the electorates, the voters, what you will do when you are elected. The difference with the CDC and that of Ambassador Boakai is this. The CDC was elected to do everything they said they were going to do. Now they've given you the chance to do it. Then you stay telling us you are going to be doing. You are considering doing. So to compare the CDC with Joseph Boakai is different. Joseph Boakai is telling you this is what I will do when I become president. The CDC, it can be the same comparison because they told us in 2005 what they were going to do if they had the country. They told us in 2011 what they would do when they take over the country. They took over the country in 2000. Right,
George, let me bring in my caller.
Taking your next call. So we can't compare the two of them.
Yeah, caller with phone number ending in 4173. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Yes, sir. This question is for George.
Your name, please.
My name is Joe Cummings.
All right.
Joe Cummings.
Joe Cummings, go ahead.
Yeah. George, what makes this Unity Party or Fredson different from the Unity Party to pass? And second of all, how can P.T. Boakai, after 12 years, be laid on the loan in less than 4 years after office? Thank you.
All right. And then hold on, George. Let me bring in.
Yeah, please go to the first question. I didn't get his first question. He said leaving on loan.
Yes, he said, this loan thing. The old man said he told.
Yeah, but what was his first question? He said something first before the loan thing. I didn't get the first part because it was low.
I think that was a premise for the loan question.
Okay, that's fine. I'll answer that.
Yeah.
You say you got another caller?
Yeah. Aliyu Kamara, go ahead.
Aliyu Kamara, let me put it in.
My friend and brother Ansony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, you're confusing me. Pushing the young brother against the wall with questions that he's supposed to be asking you. Why are you flipping the script? What are the criteria constitutionally or even morally to determine a corrupt individual? Is it about perception? Is it about feeling? Or is it about litigation? I want to ask you, Ansony, not the guest. And then you keep asking the young man that Joseph Boakai should give you audit report. Is Joseph Boakai the auditor? Did he audit himself? Are you supposed to be asking the government of Liberia to give you the audit report of Joseph Boakai's office? or are you supposed to be asked in person to give or to go to the G whatever and get the audit report from there and give it to you? I think that's ingenuous. That's not fair. And let me just say this. I am not particularly a fan of the Unity Party, but I like to keep things as honest as I can. Okay, I've been imperfect as a human being. The Unity Party, I was in Liberia when I left some part of the world and went back home based on hard shit. I was in Liberia 2005, 2006, 2007 before I made a run. I was going to Lapa Bido and paying $25 Liberian dollars and eating good food in 2007. When I went to an upgraded Kobo shop in Gobacho area, maximum $150 Liberian dollars. That was a whole lot of money at the time. But you understand what I'm saying? I could change $10 under Ellen government, and I could use it for 4 or 5 days as a single man at the time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now to go to Lapa Bido to eat food that got 2 pieces of bone is at least $500. For somebody to say that the Unity Party did not leave a record that Joseph Boakai can build on, that is dishonesty to its core. I just give you those simplistic analysis because those are things that affect the Liberian people. Commodity was cheap under Ellen.
Well, you lost the caller? We can't hear him. We can't hear the caller. We can't hear the caller.
He's not an auditor.
No, I'm sorry, no,
auditor. And you understand what I'm saying? So go to the body responsible to give you those things. And let me just remind you today, Ansony, Joseph Boakai is the next president of the Republic of Liberia. Give and take it or leave it. Nothing anybody can do about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alio. What I was asking my young brother George Lobo was, is it possible if the old man, or Ambassador Boakai, if he has any knowledge of any of the audits, can he make it public so we can know? And that's what I was asking. But we will have to leave it there. George, go ahead and answer the question.
Let me just answer that before I leave you. He couldn't because one, most people would say he influenced the audit. He has no part to play. He did not need any copy of the audit unless it was forwarded to him. So that question is not for Judge Lobo. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, George, go ahead.
So let me answer Joe Collins, who asked a question about living on loan. You see, Mr. Sieh.
Hold on, George. Let me make an adjustment here. Go ahead, Josh.
So, Mr. Sieh, we live in advanced war in the 21st century. And I think the issue of Ambassador Boakai, speaking of living on loan, I think that speaks to his character, that speaks to his judgment, and that talks about his level of honesty. Here is where he comes from when he talks about living off of loan. Ambassador Boakai believes that once you are obligated financially for whatever reason, and you are making payment towards that, you are living off of loan. Now we must not drag this in here and there. The former vice president have told you people that he lives in his house for the past 38 plus years. The former vice president do not pay card notes. So then I think the next question should be, what is the former vice president doing? The former vice president owns a 62 acres farm in Bapolu County, where he's providing employment for Liberians there. Could that have been that he took the loan to develop his farm? Is that wrong? Who name is the loan in? Is his name? Is that he not living on loan? He's paying on it. Could the former vice president bought 128 acres of land close to Tottenbury the other time when I was there, where he gave to Liberian farmers, Mr. Sieh. They can go there and plant anything of their choice, harvest it, and sell it. He provides technicians that advise them who will guard them. Now, that money that was used to buy that land, could it have been he borrowed that money from the bank? And he was so honest to tell you which bank he took it from. That's to tell you the man we're talking about. I think that's what we want. We don't want a president who will tell us when they declare their asset and say, oh, I can't let you see it because it will harm my children. You don't want a president who tell you I was worth $80 million. You have a man who's telling you, I took a loan from RB Bank. Go there. He even directed you. That means it is not clandestine. So the notion, Mr. Sieh, let me be very clear on this. Fellow Liberians, if you live in America and you are living and own a mortgage, you definitely are indebted to the bank or whoever provided you that mortgage. That is a loan you are living on until you pay it off. If you don't buy it cash, you are living off of loan. So Ambassador Boakai told you he has multiple properties. Now, could it have been he took loan to develop some of his properties until he pays it off? He's living off of those loans. So, folks, I think, again, Mr. Sieh, anywhere in the world, the only people who get loans are people with good credit, people who are fiscally disciplined, people who are financially responsible, because they can say, you know what, I need to undertake this piece of property. Like right now, Mr. Sieh, why is this someone who can have money in our account and use credit cards?
All right, Jordan, answer the question. I have a lot of callers.
So that is my question. So there's nothing wrong. He's very right. If he said that, he's correct. I'll take the next question.
All right. Caller on WhatsApp, phone number ending in 2509. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is
Hello?
Leo Johnson from Canada.
Leo, go ahead. Go ahead, Leo.
You said Leo Johnson?
Yeah, Leo Johnson.
I would like to ask a question here. And I keep asking the same question. Aren't we being misled by the likes of George Lobo and other political parties supporters who are all over Facebook and on social media asking the Liberian people to support their leaders and political parties because they are transparent, because they are accountable, when they are breaking the laws of Liberia? Up to now, we are yet to see audited financial reports from any of these political parties. If you cannot manage a political party to be able to produce audited financials, and financials does not mean you got to be raising money from people. Financial just means an account of what your party does. The same thing you do when you become president, where you have to give accountability for the budget. If these parties are not organized enough to produce financial reports for us to be able to see, because any organization, if you want to know if it's well run, you look at the financials. That's what we do. How can we live in America, in Europe, in other advanced countries, see how political parties are run? Then we go to Liberia and break the laws blatantly.
Thank you, Leo.
To this day, I'm still waiting for financial report. Can George Lobo please speak to why the Unity Party and all other political parties are not producing a financial report for us to know the source of their income and how to spend money in our elections?
Thank you, Leo. Enjoy. I have another caller. Mark that down. And for the record, this is Leo, third time asking you this question. You know, if I can recollect accurately. Caller, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the program. You know, the problem I have with some people that live in the United States is to talk about political parties. For example, if you have the Republican and the Democrat, folks, they are saying because Joe Boakai was in Unity Party government, Unity Party should not come back to power because folks that were they have some folks within the Unity Party that was corrupt. But they are there in the United States looking at the Democrats coming back to power all of the time. When those that are in power, when they blow up, they will change to a Republican, and after a certain time, they will come back to Democrat. But United Party should not come back to power. Even the generation that was there that had corrupted the system, when they are off, then they say the other people will not come back. You see, that's the problem. That's the problem. ANC is facing in Liberia, and they will not suffice in that situation because they are there on radio stations and podcasts calling members within the collaboration, the Unity Party, that they are corrupt, but yet they are in collaboration with them. And you know, there's a fellow that said that the JMB did not do anything for LPMC or for the agricultural sector. Dr. Alfred Kula, he was in Yekepa, his friends were in Yekepa, he was controlling the entire Nima County. Ask Dr. Alfred Kula, I don't know whether he's around. During that time, the LPMC was one of the vibrant of the group that was there taking care of farmers, and the farmers were really, really producing. I was small, and I had a person that was working with him, and they were very, very vibrant at that time, you know. Even now, when I went to Lopa that time, it was the town that LPMC was very vibrant. So let me tell you, the rents that were coming from those areas, they were very good. Most farmers were very happy. And they have motorbikes going from village to village, encouraging people carrying.
Thank you, caller.
Around the country, you know. So, can you give me a little minute?
Thank you, hello? Thank you. Please close, please.
Do I go on?
Yeah, go on, but you have 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, thank you. That just little thing I want to talk about, Mr. Cummings, you know, that one thing I saw, you know, Mr. Cummings, when he started a political trip, that once I was very happy with him when he came to the trip. But I think that he needs to study the liberal political cycle. That one big mistake that he made, I knew that this guy was in politics. It would take time for him to learn. There was a situation in Nima County. That situation in Nima, for example, we keep doing the collaboration for us to produce a candidate that can win, a winnable candidate. Not any kind of candidate because we are in collaboration, or a candidate that can win. He went in Nima County, we did all of the polls and things, that this lady was on top of things, you know. But he went and he issued a call and how to call him, and said we're looking for a winnable candidate. But when they put in Tar and it destroyed our chances in Nima. This number 9, he did the same thing. Most of the political party members, he did not consult them. He just took this guy and my parents, and when he carried him as a candidate.
Thank you.
Beat him there and beat him there and beat him in the other areas. You know, so we lose those positions because of him. Thank you very much.
All right. I wonder he could say that about Benin Yure who to pick his daughter. And you know, I wonder he could say that too about the Liberty Party.
No.
I wonder he could say that about Liberty Party through the CPP that picked Darius Dillon. There was not any primary process, you know, and I can go on and on. They are all guilty of the same thing, but he chose to pick one.
So let me respond to Leo, and I want to make a few things. I want to also speak.
Yeah, and I want you to add to what Leo asked. Had there been, because Joseph Boakai ran in 2017. According to the election laws, when you have a presidential or any election for that matter as a candidate, you should be able to file what they call campaign finance report. Did Joseph Boakai file a campaign finance report for the 2017 election? Go ahead.
So here's what I would say to both you and Leo. I think at this particular point in time, journalists are the people who bring information to the public, and which we respect you guys for that. I will just say to you guys to go to the National Elections Commission and check. That's what I will ask you guys to do. Because every political party that will
Joe, we are asking you a question.
Mr. Sieh,
you are a supporter. Can you just tell us whether or not it was done? Start telling us, because that's the same thing Joshua is telling us. Go to the court.
No, Mr. Sieh, go to the National Elections Commission, and those records are there. That's all I would say to that. I want to speak because I understand these strategies. And
so what is the difference between the CDC and the Boakai team?
Yes,
CDC is telling us go to the court if you want to get the access declaration. You are telling us go to NEG if you want to see whether we file a campaign finance report.
And you ask a question. Here's the difference, Mr. Sieh. You're supposed to give me the chance. You've spoken. You speak on this issue every day. Just yesterday. So I think you should give me the chance to respond to some of these things. You're asking us for the difference. The difference between the Boakai camp and the CDC is simple. The CDC is the current government that was elected for 6 years. Joseph Boakai have not been elected president yet. The CDC is the one that is in charge. Again, we are not saying go to court. We are saying there's requirements. Go to the National Elections Commissions where those documents are there. I want to say something, Mr. Sieh. I listen to you. I follow you all the time. Some of the issues you've been speaking about, I think it's fair enough that you give me the chance. If you wanted, because when you speak about Ambassador Boakai,
George, again, you are not answering Leo's question. This is a third time asking this question.
Mr. Sieh, I have answered the question for you. Your job is, if I don't answer the question, that's fine. Just let the public decide. I've answered the questions. I've said, go to the National Elections Commission. It is my time, and I should be able to speak on the things I want to speak about, because I told you there have been a lot of things you've been speaking about when it comes to JMB, which I wanted to take my time to debunk, and I'm hoping. And you don't take calls when you're doing that. I take the calls, but give me the chance when I'm speaking and I get interrupted. I would love to articulate some of these issues because I strongly believe there is a need to provide clarification to these issues. For example, yesterday you deliberated on why you made recommendations to the CPP. You talk about the UP and the ANC. You also spoke about black voting. You talk about why people are in support of it, others are not. And I think when we come to these discussions table, this is an opportunity for Liberians to hear us out. They listen to you and myself every day when we have these shows. When we have a guest, the Liberian people want to hear from the guest. Why not? I think I should be given that time. Let me do this on that issue of black voting. I want to speak on Ambassador Boakai's policies, his programs, lengthily. Again, the Unity Party 12 years record is what we are going to build upon. Now, what I would love to do is this. If there's someone who challenges that record and compare the UP to somebody, bring another record and say, this person was in power for 12 years. This is what they did. This is what they inherited from the UP. This is how the CDC have improved it. The UP was performing poorly in the economy. CDC have made it better. The household income per capita was this under the UP. The CDC have increased it. It was 500 under UP. CDC have increased it to 700. The UP created 10,000 jobs. CDC is creating 15,000 jobs. I think when we have this type of conversation, the Liberians will benefit from this discussion. But to sit here all day for you and myself, for me to say, I will continue to respond to what people perceive. If something did not happen, that means it was wrong. Then that's not fair to the audience. I want to say, Mr. Sieh, I would love to take these calls, but I want a chance to be given to me to please make the case for Ambassador Boakai, because not most often I'm here and I know what you say about Mr. Boakai on this platform, especially yesterday was said that ANC gave reasons why they are saying that his record is bad, the UP is this. I would really love to speak to some of those things. And that is why I was eager to be here, because I know I might not have the chance all the time to respond to some of these things. And I would love if this conversation can be driven to the issues why we believe.
Instead of doing that, you're taking 3 minutes to tell us why you want to respond. Just respond.
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to respond to something you said yesterday, straight up, Mr. Sieh. You said the Unity Party, we believe that we are the best to head the ticket. I'm glad you said that it was a fair argument. Why does the Unity Party believe that Ambassador Boakai should head the CPP ticket? Mr. Sieh, we are telling the Liberian people what our friends in the ANC are running on are bare promises to deliver.
All of you running on promises. All of you running on promises.
Mr. Sieh, when my time to speak, let me finish speaking and you speak. Normally when I get interrupted, I try not to talk. So let me finish, you can speak. When we say we are running on promises, the Unity Party has led Liberia for 12 years. And those records are there. Our accomplishments are there. Where did we meet enrollment for schools? What did we do to improve the healthcare sector? How many referral hospitals did we meet when we came to power in 2006? How many hospitals did we leave? What were the budgets for those hospitals when the UP came into power? A registered nurse was making $15 when we came into power in 2006. By the time we left power, a registered nurse in Secretary was making $250 with 14,000 Liberian dollars. A teacher in Robertsport was making 60,000 Liberian dollars. Today, that teacher makes 40,000. Overall, Mr. Sieh, let's look across Liberia. In terms of infrastructure, yes, it's true we did not build New York, but what did we do to address our infrastructure problem? Under the Unity Party government, we moved all government offices back into government buildings, not private buildings. We began a major settlement. We restored Liberia's image and reputation on the world stage. We began to engage the world. We managed to secure a $4.5 billion debt waiver, Mr. Sieh. So I think the Liberians, when the ANC friends, our ANC folks say, Mr. Cummings want to expand the budget, what they don't tell the Liberian people, he will be expanding the budget that was already expanded by the Unity Party government, even though they say we didn't do nothing. So we look at our records and say, listen, everything was not rosy, Mr. Sieh. But given what we did, what we were able to achieve in 12 years, given the type of country we inherited in 2006, we can do better. Now, the Liberian people fell for CDC promises in 2017. George Weah told them he was going to bring hospitals that they can't go to abroad. They will not be spectators in their economy. He was going to invest in education, in agriculture, all of those things. How is that different from the ANC? The only political party right now that will be in the race come 2023 that have a proven record of growing the budget and expanding the Liberian economy is the Unity Party. From $80 million to $526 million. And here is another thing I want to bring to this. Overall, we need a leader who is dedicated, who is committed to doing his job, who understands the needs of our people, not a leader who is playing. And that is why we believe Ambassador Boakai is our leader.
Mr. Lobo, I know Mr. Boakai is your leader, but I'm asking, Mr. Boakai was on EFBC of recent.
Go ahead.
And he was asked to actually show some of the things or talk about some of the things he has done. And I listened, he was talking about fire truck and going to the UN. I mean, that's the best Ambassador Boakai could tell us, that he brought in fire trucks.
Okay, so let me respond to that. First and foremost, the question that was asked was, what did he do as a vice president? That was the question.
That's true.
So very well. So as vice president, Mr. Sieh, let me say this. You listen to Ambassador Boakai interview with Henry Costa. You listen to Ambassador Boakai on the Spoon platform. On the Spoon platform, where many know that Ambassador Boakai is not loved there. Ambassador Boakai articulated his accomplishment. And every single panelist on that platform said, you did more as a vice president. And they all thank him. So as vice president, Mr. Sieh, the reason Ambassador Boakai named those few, it was just few, because his role is to advise the president. But again, I just said that for you. You know very well. In 2014, Ambassador Boakai came to the UN General Assembly. He rallied the world. He went to Washington, D.C., met with Barack Obama, secured 25
You said that earlier. Let's take a caller.
So no. So if you
George, you said that earlier. Let's take a caller, please.
So that's not all he could have said. So you already know that he's done more than that. We talk about the land dispute.
You said that earlier, George. Let's take this caller.
To say that
Jimmy Eastman, go ahead.
Then that's not fair to him, Mr. Sieh.
Mr. Eastman,
go
ahead.
Have the show, and it's not fair to him, and we have to speak on it. So you know what he has done. So you think that was fair? He just listed few. So he was not wrong. So what's the next
Eastman, are you there? Go ahead. Jimmy Eastman. Waiton Carter, go ahead.
Name?
Waiton, are you there? Well, it seems to be this.
So let me
go ahead, George.
So let me say this, Mr. Sieh. I will give you a story of Ambassador Boakai as vice president. He came to Arizona in 2016.
Go ahead.
He came to Arizona in 2016, where he signs multiple MOUs. One, I recall, I was then a student at Arizona State University. One of those MOU was to provide logistic, technical support for universities in Liberia. And another thing he did when he came out here was he's also signed another MOU with all the community colleges to provide support. Ambassador Boakai was seeking a form of program where people could be brought from Liberia here to be given the skills to go back and teach. So those were some of his accomplishments as vice president. You know, he went to Singapore, for example. He went to Sweden. He involved with the Swedish government. Ambassador Boakai was very instrumental when it comes to the deal from Kuwait that we secured the fundings for the pavement of the road from Banga to Medekoma. But again, I understand we live in a talking society. For a vice president who is not a talking type guy,
all right, George, let's go back to
come and articulate those issues on his behalf. So he did seriously well as vice president.
All right, George, please take your pen. We have multiple callers. Let me take them quickly. Jimmy Eastman, go ahead.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jimmy Eastman, go ahead. What is going on here? Jimmy, can you hear me? Jimmy Eastman, go ahead. What's the deal here? John Maulo, go ahead. John Maulo, are you there? Jimmy Eastman, are you there? Waiton Kera, are you there?
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, Jimmy, go ahead.
Is it Jimmy or what?
Yeah, Jimmy Eastman, go ahead first.
This is Jimmy. I'm Jimmy.
Jimmy, go ahead. Jimmy, go ahead.
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Yeah, Jimmy, go ahead. I kept saying go ahead.
Anthony.
Yes. Can you hear me? Go ahead, George. I mean, Jimmy.
Oh, not you.
I am muted. I am muted.
He said,
Jimmy, you are not muted. You are not muted, Jimmy. Go ahead.
I am muted.
I don't know what's going on here, Josh.
All participants are muted and they can unmute themselves. All participants are muted and they can unmute themselves.
Jimmy, can you hear me now? Go ahead,
Hello?
Jimmy.
Unmuted.
Jimmy, go ahead.
Okay, Anthony, thank you very much.
All
I really appreciate the show today. And George, as always, I appreciate I admire your loyalty, George. Your loyalty to the party, your loyalty to your political leader. I do admire that. But today, what we look at is data, because the data tells you a trend. It is not likely that the trend will all of a sudden change just because we want it to. The trend tells us what is going to be eventual unless we put different dynamics in it. So, number one, the UP party assessment that you're making. At the time, the UP party, we had several different international organizations in the country. We were being held up by these donations, by these support. Today, Liberia economy is not the same. We are now not dependent on as many organizations that were in the country before. In other words, the dynamic has changed. Okay, we now have to face our own challenges by ourselves. Secondly, the Liberia economy, as you well know, relies heavily on foreign assistance, though, and remittances from the diaspora. It is we're richly endowed in minerals and everything, but we still begging for money. In other words, we have not learned to adequately use our mineral resources, and that is why, even though we're rich with minerals, we're still on the begging table. All right, so let's now look at the challenges facing us. We still have unemployment, we still have underinvestment, we still have fiscal crisis. You know, one of the things when your GDP or your debt burden ratio is too high, you cannot grow an economy that way because your debt ratio is way too high. All right, so that's the situation that we face. Now let's look at the candidate that you support. We have known that Honorable VP Boakai has been a statesman for over 40 years in high-ranking positions. George, let's agree that he's been an honest statesman, but he has held high positions with higher than normal income in the country. In other words, the kind of money he has had access to, the kind of influence he has had access to, he could have done a lot with it without being dishonest. So we want to look at his production with the massive resources he has. What has he done in the face of agriculture? Does he have agricultural companies? Does he have fishing companies? What has he done with his ability to talk to different people around? Has he brought investors in? I mean, privately. Because you see, when you have this kind of affluence, you can bring things in on your own. You don't necessarily have to use the government. So I'm looking at the data. The trend shows that after 40 years and what his production is today, how can he face these huge challenges in the country when he has not been able to harness wealth with his great exposure to influence and above average wealth in the country?
Thank you, Jimmy. Please make it brief, Jimmy, because of time.
Yes, that's all. The data shows me that he will not be able to face it.
All right.
That's what it showed me.
Thank you, Jimmy. Let's go to Weton Kera. Please, gentlemen, make it very brief.
Weton?
Yeah, Weton, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Ansony, and thank you, Lobo, for hearing. So I keep hearing my brother Lobo, continue to defend UP. I'm not speaking as a vice president and former vice president. I'm talking about the former government UP. He keeps defending like UP did good, UP did well, UP did what, and this all making UP change Liberia because it met Liberia in a mess. But when the very people that were in the government, when they were there, before the left, they admitted that everything was bad. Education messed up. Healthcare messed up. But I keep hearing John Lobo saying, yes, this is the referral hospital block. Let me say it was messed up. How is it that John Lobo would tell us that the UP government led referral hospital and they were functioning, but then Ellen Johnson said it was messed up. It was even admitted by our vice president that it was messed up. He said that it's one opportunity. How can John Lobo come in and tell us it was good? Secondly, the vice president here from Lobo County. Lobo County is one of the breadbasket of Liberia. When we had Kefla Photo in office, not even as vice president, but we were working along with the president, Kefla Photo had a huge time in Lobo County. Today, after 12 years, and before becoming vice president, he was Minister of Agriculture. Joseph Boakai has nothing in, or what the county means, Lobo County as a fund. So can we trust Joseph Boakai with the presidency that he would change stuff around and he had the opportunity to do it in his own country, that he has no mark that people can refer to him like, oh, this man is somebody that we can depend on. That's where we come from. So
thank you, Carol.
Doing the same thing and expect different results. If you fall out, you or you shine, my brother, one snap bucket will never make you shine.
Thank you, Carol. John Maulo, go ahead quickly. George, please take them down, brother.
Yeah, how you doing, Mr.
I hope I'll have the time to respond to that.
Listen, Mr. Lobo.
You said John Maulo?
Let's do some deductive reasoning here a bit. If we want to say that Ambassador Joseph Boakai couldn't do much because he was just a vice president, which is a symbolic position, then let's also understand that Joseph Boakai is no Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. He doesn't have the same kind of connection. He doesn't have the same kind of clout internationally. He doesn't have the same kind of name recognition. So let's stop trying to dress this angel of a woman who proves to be very competent in her job. Although she let some things happen, but when she got out there, she was recognized and she made it happen. Joseph Boakai don't have that record. Because let's take, for example, since he hasn't been in that position, what has he done since? For the 4 years that he hasn't been vice president, what has he done? What has he done? You see? So let's clear this down. Joseph Boakai is no Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. So stop comparing it and start picking what he did for what he will do. Besides, what is he able to do now? The group that he was directly in charge of as vice president, what did he do when he was in charge of those groups? Let's discuss that and start saying, oh, Unity Party. Unity Party was running the way it was running because Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was the head, and she refuses to back him. So let's call this Unity Party thing off. Let's talk about Joseph Boakai capabilities.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Let's bring in the final caller, George. Momo, go ahead. Your phone number ending in 6473. That's the final caller. Go ahead, Momo.
You say Momo?
Yeah, Momo. Okay. Momo, are you there? Momo?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Momo. You're the final caller. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I earlier hear Mr. Lobo saying that CDC has not done what they said they were going to do, and I just want you to know that CDC still got time. I know you probably know that, and CDC will not be able to do all what they said they were going to do within the first term, which is 6 years. And UP partisans cannot be the individual to come here complaining that CDC didn't do what they promised they were going to do within 6 years when they themselves didn't do what they said they were going to do within 12 years. It is a no fact when Ellen came to power, she even promised that the whole of Monrovia were going to be lighter within the first 6 months. 12 years, it was impossible. So how can a UP partisan boldly come and complain about another government not being able to do what they said they were going to do there within 4 years. You know, and secondly, is the Liberian people willing to accept the same European government? You know, we had their people or government officials, they were paying their government officials almost 20,000, 15,000, while the masses of the people were suffering. You know, and sometimes we'll see, I think we'll be in 2016, Ellen Johnson stated that we should get prepared for a tougher time ahead. Can Brother Lobo elaborate on that? What was she looking at when she made that statement in 2016?
Thank you so very much. Josh, you have your job color with you. It's a lot there.
I'm glad you know that.
Official time. And when you finish answering those questions, you can give your closing time. You know, I got to go push my cartoon.
Thank you, Ansony. Let me say thanks to the callers. I want to begin with the last caller, caller Momo, who said that why is it that a Unity Party man like me will come on here and expect the CDC to do everything they said they would do in 6 years and have not done it. Caller, let me be very clear. The Liberian people know exactly what we're talking about. The very first thing the Unity Party government, when Madam Sieh said she was going to electrify Liberia in the first 6 years, in the first 6 months, she said the whole Monrovia, that did not happen. But guess what we saw happen in the first 6 months? In the first 6 months, we also saw small lights today, big lights tomorrow. That was one thing we saw happening. With 2 megawatts, and later on, before we left power, we leave Liberia with its high, with a new constructed hydro at the cost of over 265 million, with a capacity of over 88 megawatts. So that is something. We said we'll do it. We left the capacity. Not only that, we signed up to the West African Power Pool and other different sources of energy to improve life in our country. When it comes to why the CDC can do what they said they would do, we told the Liberian people we're going to make their life better in 2005. We promised to improve infrastructure. We promised to improve the Human Development Index, the HDMI. And what did we see happen over the course of the 12 years? Over the 12 years of the Unity Party government, there was massive investment made in the human capacity development. Over the course of 12 years, for my brother in the CDC, just so you understand, there was investment made in the healthcare sector. You saw a $10 million hospital constructed in Tapeta. You saw JFK was being renovated. You saw the budget funding for Phoebe Hospital, Ganta United Methodist Hospital. Subsidies being provided across the country for many, many other hospitals. Now, we didn't expect the CDC to do everything they said they were going to do because we knew they didn't have the capacity to do anything. We knew that they were not willing to do anything. They don't have the ability to do anything. So that itself was clear. The very first thing, the least we expected from the CDC, if you could not make it better, don't make it worse. When the CDC came into power, a gallon of gasoline was $350 on the day President Weah was inaugurated. Today, a gallon of gasoline is over $620. When George Weah was inaugurated on January 22nd, 2018, the exchange rate was $1 to 130 Liberian dollars. Today is 170. The price of basic commodities have skyrocketed. What have happened to Liberia on the international stage? Its reputation have diminished. What have happened? Massive looting of public resources. President Weah have legalized corruption under his watchful eyes. So those were not things we expected you to have done for the country. We expected you to allow the independent institution we established to function. Unfortunately, you've killed all of them. So that is what is giving you hard time. I want to go to John Maulo, who said that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is not JMB. That's true. Absolutely. We agree with you. And why do we trust JMB? Even with all that you claim that Ellen was able to accomplish, there were Liberians who still had problem with Ellen. Some people who could not work with Ellen because they felt that Madam Sirleaf's previous statement prior to the war that leveled the mansion and I'll rebuild it. Some people didn't want to work with Ellen because they felt that Madam Sirleaf was involved in the civil crisis from the genesis of it. Unlike Ambassador Boakai, he has zero recognition with regards to the war. He has no association with the war. So that itself, we talk about men who can foster reconciliation. President Sirleaf hired George Weah to foster reconciliation in Liberia, which was a massive failure. And to my CDC friends, when you speak in terms of when we say we squander opportunities, yes, it is true. And Ambassador Boakai was honest about it. When we hired the man who everybody told us was a unifier to unite the country to lead reconciliation efforts, where we appropriated over $500,000, and that money will be wastefully spent and can be accounted for. Absolutely, yes, indeed. Those were opportunities that we squandered, because those were funds we could have used to invest in some public school in Wesonga, in Foya, in Zozo, in Ganta, or somewhere in Bay Plain or Negbe. So absolutely, to give that money to President Weah, to then George Weah not to do anything with it, that was an opportunity we missed. When the vice president talked about squandering opportunity, it's like saying we use this for this, and we did not see the result. Had we taken that to use it for something better, that would have been better for the country. That is what he meant by squander opportunity. So to hire George Weah as a peace ambassador for our country, gave him $500,000 to foster reconciliation, and he failed miserably. That was an opportunity we squandered. We could have used that money for something better. But I want to say this to you. Here's why we're going with Joseph Boakai. And he's not Ellen, that's true. But again, he has been on the world stage. He has interacted with those world leaders. He has gone around the world. They know him. So definitely, the issue of contacts, it is the leader's own character, the leader's reputation, and that is the basis upon which we are trusting him. I want to run to my friend Wilton Ketter, who said that everybody in the Unity Party government said everything we left was a mess. Wilton Ketter, I understand that comprehension is a problem in our Liberian society, and context and understanding context matters. But let's come to the reality. How can everybody say it was a mess? When UP came into power, the Rao International Airport, the runway we had was the one that been there for over 50 plus years. We had to secure a loan from the Bank of China to reconstruct a terminal that meet international standard and resurface the runway. Not only that, we paved that road. So was that a mess we left? When we came to power, what was the budget? The budget was $80 million. We left a budget over $526 million. Was that the mess you are talking about as a CDC? When we came into power, your national reserve was $6.5 million. When we left power, the national reserve was $154.8 million. The player took the $25 million from to do the map-up exercise that you can account for. Was that a mess we left? If that is a mess, then let the Liberian people decide for themselves. But again, I want to fast forward this conversation to Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy Eastman made a lot of great points and talk about the trends and talk about the dynamics. Jimmy, let me be very clear here. Sierra Leone, our next door neighbors, Ansony Sieh, the IMF and the World Bank were not engaged in Sierra Leone. Many Liberians don't know that Sierra Leone was in the HIPIC initiative project. When Liberia joined, Sierra Leone, Cameroon, and other African countries, but Liberia qualified before Sierra Leone and qualified before Cameroon. When we got that debt waiver, right? Now, the IMF and the World Bank has started talking to Sierra Leone. What happened when Bio came to power? In his first 4 months, what we saw happening, Bio was able to reestablish those relationships, and the world began to work with him. So this notion that Ellen would not be there. The world didn't expect Ellen to be president for life, that they knew. But what the world looks at is a leader who understands what needs to be done. What is his character? What is he doing at home? And this is one thing I want everybody to understand. It is true we have foreign aid to Liberia during the days of the previous government, which contributed. But again, Ansony said, most of those foreign aids, there were requirements that were tied to those aids. There were certain benchmarks you had to meet. What have this government done to meet up with those benchmarks? Let's take, for example, the Millennium Challenge Corporation grant. We secured $257 million in 2015. Liberia did not qualify until 2015. What have the CDC government done? Absolutely nothing. Disqualify Liberia. So when you're crying, it is your own making. There were requirements. We established credible institutions. You came to power, you've destroyed those institutions. We can look at ones like Lete, the PPCC, how contracts have been awarded. So you've damaged everything. And I want all of us to understand here something, folks. During the Unity Party time, it is true there were a lot of NGOs in Liberia. So you can refer to that as goodwill and aid. But most of those funds were not funds that were spent by the government. Those were funds spent by implementing partners in the country. For example, some of the largest aid you people continue to talk about, the UN, the United Nations mission in Liberia, UNMIL, that money was never managed by the government. The United Nations tells you that they spent over $700 million on peacekeeping operation alone. That money is not money that went into government coffers. Again, I would say to our fellow Liberians, the dynamics have changed. That's true, Jimmy. And here is why we are saying, and that is why Ambassador Boakai makes sense in this context. Because what have Ambassador Boakai said? He is a guy who wants to cut our dependency on foreign aid. He has made it very clear that we need to be fiscally disciplined. We need to first put our house in order. We need to cut massive wasteful spending in our budget. We need to make sure that we are setting a realistic budget. And again, what have Ambassador Boakai said? When you look at his arts plan, Jimmy, why do you think we want to diversify the economy? Why do you think we want to invest in agriculture? Why do you think we want to look at tourism? Why do you think we want to invest in roads and sanitation and all those things? It's because, Jimmy, we understand that the dynamics have changed. We know that if we are going to be sustainable, if we are going to create jobs to tackle the issue of unemployment, we have to diversify the economy. And on the basis of that, that is why Ambassador Boakai have made it very clear that ART is a way forward, because agriculture, roads, tourism, and sanitation, we can create enormous amount of jobs. We can expand our budget. And I agree with you, Jimmy, on this note, Ansony. And I have been a strong proponent of that. And this is one thing Ambassador Boakai has said. We need to invest in the productive sector of our economy. Even with our natural resources, what we have not done, when Jimmy used the word, we have not managed them properly. I will tell you, Jimmy, most of our concession agreements have been heavily focused only on the extractive sector of the agreement, where the iron ore or the minerals get taken and just transported somewhere. We need to make sure that those concessions can be revisited so that jobs can be created. There must be a certain amount of finished products from all our natural resources that must be produced in our country. We can't have iron ore and then we export iron ore to the world and then we import steel rods to build bridges, to build roads, and to build skyscrapers. Why should we be doing that? We need to create those conditions, and that is why we are saying. So we know what needs to be done. If we are going to cut our dependency on foreign aid, Jimmy, we are going to take the steps necessary to move our country forward. And that is why we believe Ambassador Boakai, having a greater understanding of all these issues, can be the power and begin to tackle it.
Thanks, Mr. Lobo. George Preston Lobo making the case for the candidacy of Joseph Yuma Boakai and possible presidency. George, I hope I was able to do justice to give you more time to make the case for your candidate, and I promise I'm going to do that. I just wanted to get some of my questions through so that it can be a little more interactive. I think you make your case, but I want you to close with this, Josh. In my deliberation that you reference in the discussion, I call on both Unity Party and the ANC to pull out immediately, because from what we see, there's not going to be an agreement. You have your solid reason that I agree with why you think Joseph Yuma Boakai should be. And I also said the ANC too does have solid reason why they want their guy to be. And I agree with them. So the best things to do, instead of only United Party people asking or comments to pull out, you should pull out, because you went to the second round 3 times, 2005, 2011, 2017. So why are you asking Cummings who you think he can make it to get out, why you can pull out, and also the issue of black voting? Please close on that. Please do it in 2 minutes, Josh. I have to run to work.
Yeah, you see, that's interesting. On the issue of, let me say this. We are not the one asking the ANC to pull out. Mr. Sieh, when the Unity Party committed itself to the CPP, we did it out of good faith intentions, because there's nowhere in the world that a political party that comes second in an election, by virtue of its status, it is the largest opposition political party. Simple. But the Unity Party will go to a collaboration where she will subject herself in the interest of Liberia and say we are equal. That itself should speak to our party, that we were the ones who went there with clean heart. We could have said, no, we're not equal. Delegates should be proportional to based on the amount of votes you got in the runoff or in the election or based on your position. But we didn't do that. So again, Mr. Sieh, we are not the one asking the ANC to pull out.
Do you regret that now, Josh?
Oh, for me, I've always regretted it, but I respect the decision of my party and I support it, because at the end of the day, Mr. Sieh, as an individual, your view does not surpass the view of the institution. That is what happens. So I do support every decision the institution takes. But I was very clear. What I wanted before, Mr. Sieh, is this. What I wanted us to have committed ourselves to was an agreement where all 4 of us would have said, whoever goes to the runoff, everybody will support you 110%. That is what I wanted. So would have gone.
And that is my proposal. So why don't you take it to your institution?
Because you know what? it is late now because the UP, there are senatorial seats from the Unity Party that we allow other people to.
A resolution can take care of that, George. That's what I say in my proposal.
It is possible. So, Mr. Sieh, I want to speak on the issue of this black voting quick because we're wrapping up. The very first thing I want to say to ANC political leader and my ANC friends, I don't know when you guys speak on the issue of black voting. It just tell the Liberian people your level of understanding of national issues and politics around the world. And I will say this to you, Mr. Cummings was very, very wrong. And that itself shows Mr. Cummings' level of understanding of political issues. That is why we argue that he has zero public service understanding. Mr. Sieh, when even in the CPP, right, they say when the 4 leaders, you know that you've read the agreement. When the 4 leaders reach a consensus, it's binding, right?
It's binding, but it must get the blessing of the National Advisory Council.
Let me wrap this up. That's a formality sound.
Yes, please wrap it up.
It just ain't let it know. When you're talking, that's a formality sound. The 4 political leaders are the people who make the decision in the CPP. So when those 4 leaders said, let's say the other time they went to Calabash, let's say they went to Royal, they are now voting in black. Is Joseph Boakai now voting for the entire Unity Party? So the issue of people saying that black voting, when Mr. Cummings said black voting was unconstitutional, for me, it had me scratching my head to say, Mr. Cummings don't understand these things. So here's my question to my ANC friends. Let's assume Mr. Cummings was president and went to the AU meeting, and there was proposals on the table, but West African leaders said this is our interest, and on the basis of this interest, we are going to be voting for this reason. So we'll be voting as a black from West Africa. Will Mr. Cummings stand and say that's unconstitutional? Will he make that argument? So the issue of black voting, Ansony said, it is nothing unconstitutional.
In that case, it's a global and regional thing.
No, my point is, no, you can't listen. You can create the laws, the situation to favor you. We are speaking in terms of black voting. It is when people vote on a specific reason or interest. That is all it is. It is a group of people who say, you know what, for all we like this thing. So because of that, all we just say, we support this one thing. That is all it is when it comes to black voting. It is like, this is what we are interested in. This is what we love. So on the basis of that, Mr. Cummings was wrong. It is not undemocratic. It is not unconstitutional. And I think he should do a better job of researching before he makes those statements. To conclude, Mr. Sieh, I want to say thank you very much for the opportunity. And I hope this is not my first, this will never be my last time. I'm always available. For me, I take nothing to heart. I want to take this time to thank the callers. Those of you who agree and disagree with us, we want to say that we'll continue to make the case. And Mr. Sieh, before I leave, I want to assure you that definitely the notion, when we do make that available to the public, I will definitely come on here. Hopefully we'll schedule something for Larry Kennedy and myself with you so you guys can answer the question and we can be able to guide our Liberian folks. I want to say to my fellow Liberians who are at home sitting down, wherever you are watching this podcast today, here's what I want you to understand. The decision in 2023 is going to be very, very serious because you know what? You voted for change in 2017. Despite of all the progress we made as a country, you were told that nothing was done. And so you went for change. Today, you see what is happening. Since the government came to power, the government is yet to have created 5,000 new jobs anywhere in any sector. All we hear is promises. Since the government came to power, our reputation have diminished on the world stage. Rampant corruption, massive looting of public resources. Liberia being disqualified for many of our organizations and treaties we've signed, especially issues of agreements that were providing aid subsidies for our government because we can't meet those benchmarks. I want to say to you, regardless of what happened in the CPP, don't forget your children's future is very important to yourself. The decisions you make. The CPP will only have some 1,000 plus 1,300, 1,200 some more delegates. I think 1,300 delegates, if I'm correct. That does not mean that's a total representation of the entire country. Don't let that fool you. You know who you trust. You know who you want. Regardless of the CPP, whatever happens, you should go out and vote your conscience and vote for a leader that you know. Vote for a leader that you trust, one with the reputation, the character, the judgment. And that is Ambassador Joseph Newman Boakai, the man who has been tested, who has proven to have the character and the judgment. And on the basis of that, I want to say to focus on Liberia. We are glad to be here. Thank you very much, Ansony Sieh. I look forward to further conversation in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. And folks, that will do it for us. The song, We Are All Liberians, will take us home. Bye-bye, folks.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.